Test 1, 2, 3. Benefits and Lands Committee for Wednesday, the 6th of August.
Kyle, record.
Recording in progress.
Thank you, Chair Robbins. This meeting is being conducted virtually and in person, so I will do a roll call of the trustees to confirm attendance. Trustee Ginsburg will not be participating in today's meeting. Ms. Proff, Ms. Durazo, Ms. Langton, here. Mr. Rue, Ms. Fessler, Mr. Oakham, here. Mr. Green, Mr. Moore,
here.
Mr. Kehoe, Mr. Harris,
here.
Chair Robbins.
Promised.
Staff participating in the meeting include Deputy CEO Louis Lugo, AEOs JJ Popowich and Laura Guglielmo, Chief Counsel Stephen Rice, Legislative Affairs Officer Barry Liu, Director of Retiree Healthcare Cassandra Smith, Consultants Stephen Murphy, Michael Zito, and Amber Turner from Siegel. Trustees, please use the raise your hand Zoom option to be placed in queue. At this time, we ask all meeting participants to mute your mics until you are ready to speak, and we may now proceed with the agenda. And there were no requests received for teleconference meeting attendance under AB 2449.
Thank you very much. Item 3A, approval of minutes of the regular meeting of July 10th. Need a motion. Second. I'll second it. Any changes?
Mr. Oakham?
Aye.
Ms. Langton?
Aye.
Mr. Moore?
Aye.
Chair Robbins?
Aye.
The motion passes unanimously.
Comment?
I have
You don't
nothing.
any? Item 5, reports. Item A, engagement report for July.
Thank you, Chair Robbins. Good morning, and Chair and trustees. So some items of interest this month is very survey heavy. The first one is an item from the National Conference of Public Employee Retirement Systems and CEPRS. They've done something similar to what the National Institute of Retirement Security has done on pensionomics. So in CEPRS, this study looked at how public pensions support state and local economies. And so their key findings using 2023 data was that public pensions contribute about 2.9 trillion in economic input, and that's divided between the investment of pension fund assets at 1.9 trillion, and then from retiree benefit checks at about 980 billion. And also public pensions generate about 661 billion in state and local tax revenues, which is more than the amount that was contributed by taxpayers by over 445 billion. And then in terms of economic impact, for every dollar from taxpayers, it generates about $13 in economic activity. And then some of the numbers more specific to California includes about $1.2 trillion in pension assets. Again, that's divided into the economic impact of that, about $1 trillion to tax revenue attributed to that, about $260 billion. And then the next item is another one from CEPRS. They do an annual public retirement system study, which looks at the fiscal, operational, and business practices of pension funds. So just some highlights. The average funded ratio of the plans in the past 5 years range from 71 to 79%, but most currently there's an average funded ratio of about 83% of plans. Average investment returns is about 9.47%. And then at the same time, assume return rates of return have you seen over the years ratcheted down. It was average of 7.13% in 2021, but it's about 6.67% in 2024. And then as far as AI is concerned, a few systems have implemented AI. They haven't used it for, I guess, benefits administration, but mostly for communications and, automating administrative tasks. The next item is a survey from Mission Square about state and local government workforce. It looks at state and local recruitment, and some of these, results can be attributable to maybe the movement from the federal side to the state and local side, as a lot of federal employees have been, laid off or had their jobs eliminated. But So for example, some highlights include the fact that fewer jurisdictions need to reopen recruitments due to an insufficient number of qualified applicants. They're certainly getting some from the federal side. A lot of jurisdictions are dropping degree requirements, and they found that they haven't seen a decrease in the quality of applicants when they do that. And then as far as fewer governments, they report competitive compensation as an important priority, and that salary is not that big of a factor, but what I think people value would be a hybrid and flexible scheduling. But at the same time, workforce initiatives on DEI and also flexible workplaces have declined in importance. And then lastly, a lot of governments rate succession planning is very important, but it seems highly aspirational, as over 60% have reported they haven't really had anything in place for a succession planning program. The next item is about federal firefighters. I know in the last several months at the state level, in our own state here, we've seen a benefits enhancement bill, but this is at the federal level. So there's a bipartisan bill that concerns civilian federal firefighters that mostly protect, facilities and military infrastructure, in contrast to federal wildland firefighters. So what the legislation would do is to reduce mandatory work week levels and also mandatory overtime. They found that as far as federal firefighters are concerned, their state and local counterparts work fewer hours but get paid more. So they're trying to equalize some of that. And on the payment side, the bill would also include overtime as being pensionable in retirement calculations. So again, this bill is designed to address burnout and also improve recruitment and retention. And the last item is about interesting statistics on Social Security. They maintain benefit statistics for each state. So as for California, we have about 6.5 million beneficiaries. And this statistic I thought was pretty staggering. There's about almost $12 billion that are paid each month to Californians in Social Security benefits, which is about 144 billion a year. And then as far as beneficiaries affected by the weapon GPO, there's about 353,000 in California, but as we know, that has been repealed. So these 353,000 will be getting their full benefits, in due time. And so that concludes my report, and happy to stand for questions.
Thank you very much. Moving right along to item B, staff activities report.
Yes, good morning, Mr. Chair, members of the committee. Just one thing to report. We've concluded the reconciliation for our plan year participation in the retiree drug subsidies program for plan year 23-24. And we've done that for the Anthem, Cigna, Kaiser, and Local 1014 plans. So we're just waiting on the payment that we've requested from CMS. That's it.
Okay. Item C, annual Blue Cross and Cigna audits.
Yes, we have Amber Turner here from Siegel, who was the one that did the claims review on behalf of LACERA. Amber will be presenting the findings of those audit findings for both Cigna as well as Anthem.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Amber Turner. I am from Siegel. I've completed your audits for the past, I believe, 7 or 8 years. So the first item that I would like to discuss is the Cigna dental audit. In regards to the dental audit, we did sample actually 225 claims through a 12-month period that would go from July 1st of 2023 through June 30th of 2024. These are actually statistical samples, meaning that it's random, and its purpose is to measure the performance guarantees and just see the performance of actually Cigna, who is your dental vendor. From that, we can see that we have no issues this year with the Cigna dental. They did pass 100% of financial accuracy, payment accuracy, procedural accuracy, and overall accuracy. They did meet your 90% performance guarantee on the time to process within 10 days, business days. And within 20 business days, they were able to achieve 94.68%. That doesn't account for adjustments, so we can assume that they did pass. Does anybody have any questions on the dental?
No questions?
Okay, we can move over to the medical. The medical, this is the same audit period, so it's July 1st of 2023 through June 30th of 2024. And from this, we did sample 255 claims. 220 were stratified, meaning that they were random, but 35 were targeted, meaning that we ran an electronic analysis and we selected claims that we thought had a deviation from the benefit, so we could look further into them when we are auditing. From that, we identified $28,226.42 in overpayments and $3,670.17 in underpayments, which did impact the overall performance statistical achievements. The statistical achievements only include the random sampling. It does not include target sampling because target sampling is biased. So from that, the financial accuracy was passed, the procedural accuracy passed, and the time to process was passed as well. The point where there is failure on this and there's a decline is the payment accuracy, as well as the overall processing accuracy. Payment accuracy is the amount of incidents that was found in regards to payment errors. And that was at 88.42%, as well as the overall processing accuracy. You can go to the next. Okay, so the next page is detailed, the key findings in regards to what we actually found. So the first issue that we see here was Medicare coordination of benefits issue. There were 16 claims that were found. The second issue is the out-of-pocket deductible, and that was 17 claims that were found. Third issue is the plan payment, which we were actually able to remove that error because Anthem provided additional information to exclude this. Issue 4 was only one claim that was identified. Issue 5 was hearing aids limitation. There was 8 claims. Issue 6 was the acupuncture limitation, which was 8 claims. Issue 7 was the foot orthotic exclusion, which was 5 claims. And issue 8 was the surgery cost sharing, which was 9 claims. When looking at this, because this plan is fully insured, the underpayments would represent the member paying over. They paid more than they should. The overpayments are actually the plan or Anthem at this point paying more than they should. The underpayments have a direct impact to the member, whereas the overpayments could have an impact to the actual cost of the plan. So the next 2 pages are going to be recommendations and just discussing what we actually found. So the Medicare coordination of benefits. For Plan 3, it's actually a supplemental plan to Medicare. And from that supplemental plan, it actually notes that LACERA will pay 100% of the difference between Medicare's allowable charge and the amount Medicare pays for medically necessary Part B services and supplies. Anthem is currently not doing that. They're only paying the 20%, which doesn't align with the language within the plan document. And our recommendation is that LACERA discuss the language within the plan document, discuss if there needs to be any type of modification in the language, or if, you know, there needs to be a benefit change at that point. Issue 2 is that out-of-pocket deductible over applied, which we've had this error before. And this is basically because of the commingling of the pharmacy plan. And, you know, you're always going to have this. This isn't abnormal for any type of out-of-pocket that is with the medical. So, you know, if you have a pharmacy plan with the medical plan, there's always a delay. How they reconcile this, they have started to do a new process, which is kind of streamlining this and going back and adjusting the claims manually, but it's still a manual process. So it takes time and there is a delay. So we just recommend that you guys continue to monitor this as this is a, you know, continual issue. The hearing aids limitation, again, the hearing aids were paid over the $300 payment limit. Anthem did agree to this issue, you know, and they did note that they are starting to do quarterly reporting to review these types of claims to see if they can go back and readjust them so that, you know, we won't keep finding them in these audit errors. We do recommend that, you know, LACERA discuss with Anthem ongoing reporting because they are actually running these reports now, but that doesn't mean they're going to continue to do that. So we would recommend telling Anthem to continue to monitor these reports.
I've got one question.
Yes.
Going back to one and that 20%, who's paying the difference? Because it's supposed to be 100%.
The member.
The member's being charged the difference?
Correct.
And do we have any idea? You have no idea what that accumulation would be.
We don't know what that total impact is, but I can tell you it is small dollar amounts, but it's still, you know, money out of the member's pocket. If we look up at the previous page, I can tell you there's 16 claims. The amount that came out to is $113.48. That was to the member. So these are really small amounts, but it's still money coming out of the member's pocket. That shouldn't be, right?
Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so the issue 6, acupuncture limitation. Acupuncture was paid over the $30 payment limitation. Anthem agreed to this issue. Again, they're running a reporting. We do think that this should be monitored. They should be continuing to run this reporting and looking at the reporting and reviewing the reporting so that they could actually adjust these claims. Issue 7, the orthotic exclusion, that is in regards to, it's basically language within the plan document stating that this benefit is only for diabetic diagnosis. It's not necessarily 100% that this should be in the plan document as just diabetic. There may be other instances where this would be allowed, but because it is in the plan document and we go by the plan document, it is written up. So that might be a conversation in regards to plan document language. Okay, so issue 8, this is a really big concern. So my 2 big concerns on here were the Medicare coordination benefits and then the surgery cost sharing. So the surgery costs that were to pay at 100%, they are actually applying coinsurance to this surgery cost. They did agree to this issue. This is, again, a repeated issue, but it's a manual issue, meaning that it's human error. Somebody's actually, you know, adjudicating this plan manually and, you know, but there does come a point where, you know, it is 9 claims that we identified this on. So it may be a deeper problem in regards to training, or, you know, how they interpret that actual document. Anthem agreed to this issue, and they noted that they did provide coaching but because this has happened multiple times, we did recommend that LACERA follow up with Anthem and see if there's any way that they could provide a financial impact report in regards to how much this is coming out from the member's pocket, as well as, you know, the root cause and solution to this.
Are they applying that 20% and that's it?
Yes, but it is surgery. So, you know, surgery is always more expensive.
No,
So
I
that's my
understand.
big concern with that.
So you have no idea what the numbers are?
I would not know. They would have to run a financial impact, but we can see here from, you know, the 9 claims that we did identify, it was $2,853.83.
You have a time frame? Do you have a time frame for when they're going to fix this since it's a repeating problem?
With them, I can only recommend that they fix it. They don't, you know, unless from what I've seen in my experience, it's actually you guys that have to tell them, you know.
So, Amber, if I could, Steve Murphy with Siegel. So for overall context, the Anthem plan, you spend probably $350 million annually in premiums. So again, this is an important process. What makes LACERA unique is because your programs are fully insured, typically you don't have the right of audit. The insurance carrier has the financial responsibility. So it's a matter of if they overpay or underpay, it kind of comes out of their own pocket. However, LACERA staff, retiree healthcare staff established this, going back to Kath Magida and Cassandra, established the audit right when Anthem was awarded the contract and when Cigna had those. So this is really unusual that you have the ability to do this. So that being said, we kind of look at this. The other factor to keep in mind is that, you know, your program is, for lack of a better term, kind of established in stone. It's like the 1982 contract, what the benefits should be. And so the modifications are difficult to kind of change. They can be tweaked over time. So what we're really trying to do is monitor, it's like, are you paying according to the contract that was established with the county? So as we go through this process, we do identify it. But again, if you think about it, an 82 contract and where someone helped me with math, I think we're getting 40 plus years. A lot has changed, and a lot of the claim systems are geared to adjudicate claims and process things kind of quickly without human intervention. There are a lot of nuances within your plan that create these kind of recurring claim issues. And so as part of that process, LACERA retiree healthcare staff and Siegel visit with Anthem annually. So we'll take this report and visit with the staff that pays the claims. The staff that pays the claims at Anthem, to be quite honest, they're the most senior people within that staff that pay it. And they've been working on LACERA plans for, I dare say, decades. So it's like, yes, they're bringing new people to kind of do it, but it's a real unique situation. So again, this audit gives us insight into, are we still having those same issues? We bring it to bear. We're trying to figure out, again, what steps can be taken. But a lot of the remedial steps they'll take are, can we do run reports and kind of monitor that? So again, sometimes that's going to get lost over time. They may be able to replicate it, but it's like at some point, other things take precedence because it's outside the realm of normal work. So again, I think the audit process enables us to kind of bring that to the forefront again and going, this is still a recurring issue. We still want to do these things. But again, I think credit to Amber and the audit team for doing this, and appreciate the work of Anthem and Cigna to allow us insight into do this. Otherwise, we'd have no line of sight into any of this. And so this gives us at least some direction in terms of what's going on and how to try to address it going forward. So it's kind of a mixed bag. You can look at it and going, okay, there's issues and they're recurring. How do they get fixed? But again, the uniqueness of the LACERA program, its contract, et cetera. I think we kind of accept or understand that, but then work towards kind of resolution going forward. So hopefully that context helps with kind of the results and kind of the intent of the audits.
Cassandra, are we getting a lot of complaints about this? Do you get calls? Do the members know that they're not supposed to be paying that, particularly with surgery?
Oddly enough, we have not heard anything.
Do we need to change the contract and supplement this contract and put the proper verbiage in there, which will solve a lot of these problems?
I think, as Amber pointed out, looking at the kind of the foot orthotics, I think in the language it was relative to diabetic treatment only. That may be something we need to look at. I would defer to kind of retiree healthcare staff if we might inventory these potential changes, but probably have to recommend them or suggest them to the county for approval.
Right.
So there'd be some additional steps in there, but again, I think it's worthwhile because again, it's if it could improve Anthem's performance by making those tweaks without kind of disrupting kind of the intent of the contract, et cetera, then I think that's a reasonable thing. And we certainly bring that up. I think we typically do that late in the fall.
Yeah.
To visit with Anthem. So
Thank you. That was very helpful. The history was very helpful too. Cassandra, can I just ask you if people did call and complain? I mean, I don't even know if people know they could call and complain here. Maybe they do, maybe they don't. They do know. Okay. Okay. Because I'm surprised you're not hearing. Is there anything we could do? I mean, we have no teeth in this game, I guess, really, because we're not going to stop using them.
Normally what'll happen is the complaint would come to me basically, and I would outreach the Anthem account team. And we will work together with them to find out if in this situation, this has been identified a couple of times, how can we get this rectified? You know, because in this case, the member is being harmed. And they usually work with us if it's something that, you know, is, we point out it's been found before. What are we going to do about it? You said you did training or whatever the case is. How's that going? What was done? And then follow up from behind that.
And does the member's case then get resolved through you, that particular case?
A lot of times they will make adjustments
Mhm.
based on our input.
Okay,
Yeah.
thank you.
and probably just a lesser nuance too is that as Anthem updates their claim system, again, they're updating it for basically 99% of their client base. So as they're making changes in benefits and things become a little bit more road or consistent, LACERA typically kind of falls outside that mix. So when they do make changes and we start to see a rise in kind of questions or complaints, we typically, maybe our first question is, when did you change your system last? And we kind of figure that out, and then we'll work backwards to kind of reconcile those. So it's, you know, as they move forward, they need to kind of bring LACERA forward through that process. And sometimes they can anticipate what impact those system changes will have, and sometimes they can't. So we're kind of monitoring that. So it is a kind of evergreen, constant process of trying to stay current with that, make sure the members are protected.
But it is harmful to even if it's just one member that you identified. So I think that it's, as fiduciaries, it's our responsibility to at least, we know this and we know that it's a repeating problem. And so raising it to their attention, especially if they're willing to do something about it. I get that we don't have a lot of enforcement on that issue, but continually raising, we're seeing a repeating pattern. Mm-hmm. What's up with that? And can you take a look at this that we found? And even if that person doesn't complain about it, it's still important that, I mean, this person lost out on $2,000 and maybe they're recovering from their surgery still and just haven't had an opportunity to go back and look at their invoices and go, wait a minute, I'm supposed to be covered, right? So anyway, I just would encourage the team to consider raising this with the right people and just indicating it doesn't bother. I mean, everything, the wonderful thing about audits is that you see stuff, but when we see it repeatedly, now we're on notice. We have actual notice that there is a problem.
Right.
Thank you.
And Cassandra, well done getting this into the contract. That's wonderful.
Yeah, it's not inside the normal. We'll say that.
Even more reason. Thank you.
Anything else to cover?
Okay, I
No,
have a
there's
question.
nothing else. Does anybody have any questions or anything?
Yeah, my hand is up, I think. I think my hand is up.
Yes, Trustee
Okay.
Moore.
Yeah. Earlier in the conversation, as you were talking about the fact that the contract that we're operating under with Anthem so what is it, 1982? That's
the benefits are based off the contract between LACERA and LA County, and those benefits are fixed based on that moment in time.
okay. And you also mentioned that some of the people at Anthem who've been working on our contract have been working on our contract for quite some time, a number of decades.
Correct.
So the area of concern that I would have and would want to pay attention to is when you lose all of the institutional knowledge that's in Anthem and at the county and at LACERA, and all the people who did this 40 years ago are gone. Are we in a position and are we prepared to just transition over to a new group of people and not have a whole lot of problems because you have new people involved that don't know the history of how to administer this contract?
That's a great question. I can tell you that Anthem has instituted a succession plan. The individuals that come to mind for me are the ones, because I'm always shocked when I go in somewhere and it's like, I've been on LACERA for 20 years. You're like going, how is that possible? Because there's a lot of turnover in those roles. But what we're seeing is that, yeah, those are the people that are leading the groups, but we're seeing people with 10 plus years of experience that have also been on LACERA. So it's almost the best of the best do graduate to managing a LACERA program because of its nuances and complexities. So from a succession planning standpoint, I don't foresee that we would quote unquote cliff and say, okay, now nobody understands anything, but I appreciate the question.
Okay. And it's the same on our side. As far as succession planning and knowing that you have staff that's up to speed when you and Cassandra retire.
No one can replace Cassandra. I don't know what, we're in trouble.
Trustee Moore, I appreciate the question through the committee chair. That's certainly top of mind for LACERA. We understand the institutional knowledge internally with Cassandra. I think Leilani and Cassandra both are at probably over 60 years, 60 to 70 years combined with retiree health. So we do have an approach in terms of making sure that institutional knowledge exists at LACERA. We're working with legal, not only on the agreements that we have. We had a board offsite that talked about the 82 agreement, the 94 amendment, and the 2014 amendments as well, to make sure not only that our staff at the retiree healthcare team understands kind of our position as it relates to administrators of the plan, but also that we have that continuity with all of our carriers. And we meet with our carriers annually. So the Anthem team that processes our claims, we actually physically go and conduct meetings with them to ensure that they have that succession planning in place. So those things are definitely top of mind for us.
Okay, thank you. Good answer.
During our meetings with Anthem or any of our carriers, we do also try to meet with the line people that are actually talking with our members. So we get to meet them face to face. And a lot of the members' names we know, they know as well. So it's a good collaboration between the two. Normally they start off when they first come in, they'll just be taking calls. And as Steve indicated, then they move up in other parts, still handling Sarah. So they're pretty familiar with our members as well.
If I could, Cassandra, too, I think that's something unusual that LACERA also implemented, which it's LACERA's term, not mine, but kind of due diligence visits. And so across all your vendor partners, whether it's Anthem, Cygnus, CVS, kind of getting on site and visiting with them and kind of putting faces to names so that people understand it's not just LACERA is not an acronym, it's people and who to contact and who to go to. And so that has been a constant theme. And I think one of the probably more unusual things is that because this is a kind of retiree only focused group, the idea of developing relationships with your vendors so they actually understand what makes LACERA different from the vast majority of their clients, so that they understand the nuances and if issues come up, how to resolve them, which is a far different thing. So again, the combination of these audits and these due diligence visits, I think sets LACERA apart, and I think has done a terrific job of establishing a good foundation for communication.
Okay, thank you.
Curiosity, and I know we need to move on. If I'm getting the evil look from.
I think that evil eye is for me. That's okay.
How large is the group that you deal with? How many people are we talking about? I mean, hundreds, thousands, or
meaning the staff at Anthem?
The immediate staff that you see and meet with.
Usually it's about 20 or so listed. Yeah.
I think, are you saying, is your report over, Amber, or? Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you, everyone.
I think 98% of the inquiries I get from retirees out there have to do with prescription drugs, anything that has anything to do with medications. Some individuals that might have cancer and they're dealing with some specific high cost stuff, but with all the weight loss stuff right now, I get those emails all the time. They won't cover this. Why don't they cover this? They used to cover this. This one's FDA approved, but they won't cover this. And, you know, and it's really complicated. But I think the other thing that's, I'm kind of reminded of that intro to the original Star Trek, Going Where No Man Has Gone Before. I mean, we have an indemnity plan. And nobody out there in the insurance industry even knows what the hell an indemnity plan is, because no one has a medical indemnity plan anymore. They don't exist. But our plan is an indemnity plan. So I've had to explain it to people in doctors' offices before when they want to know about co-pays and everything else. So it's not easy. So, but I just refer the stuff to Cassandra and they get to the bottom of it and get it solved. But this other stuff with claims that are being underpaid or overpaid, you know, our members have no way of knowing. I mean, my wife does HR at her work and she knows a little bit about this stuff, but you know, it can be really complicated and
Yeah.
more challenging.
Unless you read the whole book, which, you know, I'm sure many of you have seen that book and it's thick. So
yeah.
And remember, they don't get the information on the claims for 3 months minimum.
Sometimes, yeah.
Yeah, you know what I mean? If you get an operation, I don't know how they do this with the billing. I don't think the hospitals bill very quickly, do they, Cassandra? So they're waiting, which I don't understand. And so 3 months later, how are you going to determine what those, you know, you're going to look at one number, hey, what I have to pay.
Yeah, sometimes it's 6 to 9 to 12 months later.
Right.
So, oops, you're over the $1 million cap because we didn't get the billing. They didn't know. Just had one of those recently. I mean,
How was that?
all right, because staff was able to fix it,
Magic
but
worked.
I mean, yeah.
The member had reached, I think it was 1.5. And due to timing of when the bill was submitted and the time that it took to get it paid out, they fell short of reaching the July 1st where we increased the maximum to 1.5 by a month.
But how much money was involved?
Again, if she was already over 1.5, 1.4, it was
You don't even
1.4
know it.
something. So for that month, unfortunately, there's nothing that we can do about that month, but I was able to work it where we were able to keep them on the plans with July with the additional lifetime max that was added on there.
But you have to pay that?
They will have to pay whatever claims that may come through for that 1 month, but it's better than going without any coverage at all, so. And the member was made aware of that and they were okay with that, so it worked out well. But those are some of the more heart-wrenching stories that I get.
Okay. Claims experience, Steve?
Pass it off to Michael.
Thank you. The materials are included in your packet. I'll give you a highlight. So the materials are updated through June of 2025 for Anthem. For all claims, for all plans 1, 2, 3, and prudent buyer, the overall increase was 9.5%, largely due to higher utilization from plans 1 and 2 and plan 3. And then the Kaiser utilization was updated through May of 2024. The inpatient service category decreased on a claims basis and utilization basis. However, the outpatient pharmacy and other service categories decreased overall, resulting in an 8.9% paid claims year-over-year change. And then for the lifetime maximum benefit, we're tracking members that may reach the $1 million cap. It's remained relatively stable from May of 24 through June of 25. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody have any questions? E,
I am more enthusiastic about the claim audit results than I am the legislative updates. How about that? So I'll be brief. Included in your packet are a couple compliance news updates. The first one relates to states attempting to manage pharmacy benefit managers, CVS, Express Scripts, and others. There was a case out of Oklahoma which landed in the 10th District Court, and I think what we're seeing is that there's kind of a line been drawn now. So what it appears is that states may be able to enact legislation against PBMs that relate to compensation for prescription drugs, payments, et cetera, but not necessarily plan design, design, co-pays, network access, which retail providers can you go to, which ones can you get, the use of mail order, et cetera. So it's still an evolving thing, but we'll see more of this as we go forward. But it's just like we saw kind of the first line that tells us like, okay, there's some parameters here versus the state saying they're mandating everything and what they want to achieve. So we'll see where that goes, but it's, kind of the first case. Next item in the compliance news update is kind of an ACA Affordable Care Act dollar amount and percentage template or matrix. A variety of items that are related to kind of changes in the kind of inflation rate. In this particular version, it's a like 4 or 5 page document, but the one item that changed in this document at this point was changing the maximum annual out-of-pocket maximum for members, both for single and family. It doesn't impact LACERA's plans per se, because your plans are kind of established what they are based on an 82 contract like we talked about earlier today. So just a case of kind of what's going on in the future. And then the last item, we had a brief summary of the kind of the Budget Act that was signed on July 4th by President Trump. I think what we're kind of very globally speaking, there's a lot of things there that are not applicable to LACERA, but and its basic concern is that legislation doesn't include any changes to the taxation or deduction of health benefits. And there's no anticipated change in tax incentives for retiree health benefits. The rest of the stuff is really geared towards active employee plans in different provisions. So it's like it's there for your reference, but what we're seeing is kind of full steam ahead. There's certainly going to be cuts to Medicaid, and we'll see kind of how that translates over the next 5 to 10 years in terms of impact. But, specific to LACERA, plans are fine, and we don't anticipate any significant changes based on the act so far. So I will close my remarks and take any questions.
Okay. Items for staff review?
I have nothing.
Nothing. Items for future agenda?
Nothing there either.
Nothing. We'll skip go to the order, and if no one has anything, motion to adjourn. We are adjourned. Watch that.
Recording stopped.